Welcome back to another episode of The Money Honey with me, your host, Rosalia Lazara Tilley. Now, I, as always, like to talk about money. Hey, this is the show where we're going to talk about money. And if it makes you uncomfortable, then you're in the right place. That's exactly how you're going to grow. Like if you're going to be comfortable with something, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm comfortable with everything about money. I have to get education. I have to get a calculator. Anyone else? Like I definitely need a calculator every time I'm working with numbers. And I have a confession to make that 1 month, right, in my business, as the numbers kept growing, there was one particular month that I knew I had a storming month. I was like, I have absolutely done my personal best this month. And then I was like sat at lunch with my mum and she was like, oh, so how much did you make? Because look, I've been in sales for a really long time and it was always like ring the bell and count every single penny that you make and shout bigger than everyone else. And I was always like numbers. And then like in my business, I've just been like really like with the flow and like I've just been like, you know what, I'm just putting my head down, enjoying it. I'll count everything at the end. What I do know is that I just don't miss an invoice and I don't do any projects if I haven't been paid. Yeah, like all that. But 1 month I was like, yeah, mom, I was like, I've absolutely smashed this month. I don't want to really say out loud how much I think I've made, but I think I've made a lot. And she was like, well, let's have a look. She's in sales as well. So I like downloaded my PDF from Starling Bank. And I was like, she looked at my face and she was like, you don't look too pleased. I was like, I don't think the number's right. I was like, I'm perplexed. I was like, I'm sure I've done more than this. Anyway, evening comes round and I was like, Matt, my husband, I was like, can you just like help me check my end of month stats because I'm sure there's like a digit missing. And he was like, yeah, you've read that wrong. Like you've done like quadruple what you think you've done. I don't know. Like there was a number I missed. Like I don't know. And the point is, it doesn't matter if it was 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. That's the point is, sometimes we just don't even believe that money was attracted to us and that we generated that. And I was like, could it be, so I'm working through, I've got an accountant and everything, I'm working through, is it my self-belief or was it like, it could have been dyspraxia. I think that's the word for it. Like sometimes I just don't read numbers the way I read words. I'm more of, I did study languages at the end of the day, so I am better with words. But anyway, so today I'm very excited to meet for the very, very first time my special Money Honey guest for today, who I basically stalked on social media and was like, please come on the show. You look amazing. Like, please come and talk to us, because I am surrounded by financial advisors and mortgage brokers and, lots of people who have access to money. And I've worked for a bank before, but that's one type of guidance, whereas there's other types of guidance that you need, which might be emotional support with money. It might be budgeting support with money. It's all well and good having a financial advisor in your chosen country that gives you guidance on like your retirement plans and how to get access to a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. But you're not going to get access to a mortgage and a great pension fund if you've got emotional barriers with money. So for that reason, I have invited here today a financial coach, not advisor. So not like a UK qualified advisor that you normally hear from. It is a coach. And this particular Money Honey has had the incredible opportunity to teach hundreds of amazing women the art of building wealth. And together they have demolished bad debt, skyrocketed credit scores, and built courage to maybe fire the previous accountant or financial advisor that they were working with if they were not getting them to the goals that they needed, or maybe just reshape the team that and their guides. So if you've been in this position before where you're like, I'm in the same cycle of debt, or, I don't really know how to go beyond a certain level, then this is the episode for you. And so before I bring her on, just a reminder that this episode and this show is a free show. So people come on the show and spend their free time and spare time to help you. So respect and kindness and honesty is always of the utmost importance when you are listening to the guests, please, because they are here to help you. So if you like the show, like it. If you didn't like the show, just leave. Like, if you don't like it, no need for bad like hate around here. Okay, so if you don't like it, you can scroll past, but I know you're gonna love it. And every episode has had a huge success and has had huge reception, like positive reception from everybody listening. So remember to like the show and subscribe so that you're kept informed with the new shows coming up. But yeah, without further ado, my money honey today, the guest is Jessica Perrone. Who's on mute? Here she is. Hello.
Hello. Oh my goodness, that is just an amazing intro. Thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure. Well, the amazing intro is the fact that it's true and that's who you are. But for those who don't know you, and I'm certainly meeting you like face to face online for the first time, other than your socials, please give us an intro. Who are you and what do you do?
Oh my goodness. So I'm Jessica Perrone, the founder of Her Financial IQ. I am a financial coach, so I do one-on-one coaching. But that's not really where I started. I actually started, and this is a fun. May I go into the story of how I actually started? It's a fun story. So my ex-husband and I actually built a fintech company together. And when the relationship was on the rocks, I stepped down from the company to be a good wife and take care of the kids. And I was trading on the side, stock trading, that is, on the side. And I just felt lonely. I missed Wall Street and I missed the buzz and being part of everything. So I was like, you know what? I'd really love to have a book club for female traders. But I couldn't find any female traders, stock traders out there. So I was like, maybe I should just teach women how to be stock traders. And so I was living at the time in a very affluent neighborhood. And I said to myself, of course, all these affluent stay-at-home moms, they are so smart. They've had great careers. Of course, they want to learn how to trade and trade stocks. And I was like, I went to the basketball courts where they had their activities. I went to the soccer fields. I'm talking to all these moms and they're like, oh, I can't do that. Like, you see the anxiety coming up. They're like, I can't do that. My husband does it. And I was like, oh, what is going on here? That's not a way I ever thought, you know? And I said, maybe I just need to create a course that teaches women the basics, the fundamentals of investing. And that's how my first course was created, the Investing for Beginners, which really started teaching women the language of investing, you know, what a stock is, what an ETF is, the different ways that you can put your monies to work. For example, here in the States, you can do a retail brokerage where you place the orders yourself. You can have a financial advisor like you're talking about, or you could even have a robo-advisor. So there's all different types of ways that you can put your monies to work. And just understanding those ways and understanding the terminology behind it is really important to what you said, build that confidence as women and identify as the investor. And that's really something that I feel that a lot of women struggle with, is just identifying as investors, saying, yes, I am smart enough. I can do this. I have everything in me to understand how to do this, and I will do it.
I love that. It is totally about confidence, and without education, you don't have confidence. So, so tell me, obviously there is an accent that we can all hear. So I just wanted to clarify that for anyone listening, because most of my listeners have been in the UK. So tell us where you're based and what that financial world currently looks like for you, for women, and in general.
Sure thing. So I am in a small town right outside of New York City. It is a commuter town, so I can take the train to New York City. For example, yesterday I was in the city for work. So I have the best of both worlds. I'm in the country, I'm in horse country, but I also have access to the city. So I love my area, I really do. And so it's interesting because I'm sure that there's a lot of similarities as to what we're going through here in the US and what you're going through in the UK as well, especially for women. And it's when I'm really thinking about this, and I think about And I was just actually, I tutor some teens in finance, and we were actually looking at the history of women and finances. So it wasn't until 1976, right around there, and forgive me if I'm getting the exact date wrong, that we were even allowed to have credit cards as women. Right. And
Yeah,
like,
it was
if you
around,
think
yeah,
about
1970. Yeah, like the man landed on the moon before women could get mortgages and credit cards on their own.
absolutely, absolutely. And so if you think about it, like this really is new for many women in our generations. And so the generations that are handing down the financial knowledge, there's a little bit of a gap there. And I even talk about STEM. And there is research with women and teen girls or any girls to if you as a mom say to your daughter, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at science, that in turn creates that dialogue within your daughter as well. So my thesis with this is that if you as a woman say, I'm not good with finances, I'm not good with the accounting side of this to your daughters in turn are going to say, I'm not good at this as well. And I feel like that is not just a US thing. I think that is an international concept as well, as we are very new with this right of financial independence, really.
I love that. I think about my language all the time, and I wonder if, even without having any kids, if I'm teaching the future me something that I perhaps will regret. But, if, like for example, saying like I'm not that good with numbers, I'm better with words. If that's
Yeah.
like creating, I caught myself saying that, but I'm hoping that I've got enough of a healthy attitude towards it that I don't let it stop me. I let it fuel me to think, well, okay, fine, practically speaking, yeah, maybe I am more comfortable with words. So let's do something about it. So that's why I then, don't let that hold me back. I let it fuel me to learn more in that space. I think that's how I deal with it. If I have caught myself saying maybe a negative affirmation or something like that.
It's so interesting that you say that because I just was watching an educational podcast about the way people learn and even the way that we phrase, this in the classroom, this person isn't as good as in math as they are in language arts, so to say. And what they're trying to have even educators do nowadays is refrain that to they just haven't had enough experience to excel in that field or in that subject. So like you said, like rephrasing it, reframing it in your mind. So when it comes to finances, maybe saying to yourself, I'm not that I'm not good at it. It's just I haven't had enough time with that subject to excel with it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's where I stayed most comfortable at school. I came from Italy, where it came to England, learned English. And so when it came to learning Spanish and German, I was like, yeah, like, it came quite easy to me because I had more practice and I was stretched outside of my comfort zone, much bigger when it came to, English being my second language. I was going through that at a young age, whereas everybody else was just focusing on reading, maths, geography, whereas I'd already been exposed to such a challenging task that's where I then ended up becoming comfortable, which is quite interesting. So we mentioned, or you mentioned actually, educating teens, which is a subject very, very close to my heart because I do a lot of volunteering in schools as well to educate the next generation about property and about finance and business. Yeah, I spend a lot of time there and I love it. And in fact, one of my schools that I do this in is the school that I used to go to, the secondary school. So it's so nice to be able to go back and, give back. So yeah, really enjoy it. So what do you say to parents and teens, or how do you pass that wisdom onto that next generation?
So, and first of all, like everything you say is so inspiring. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of you. Like,
Oh,
and your voyage in your life is so inspiring. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of you.
oh,
Like, just
that's so amazing.
hearing your
Thank you.
voyage. And like, you have overcome so much. and finances is the least of it. I mean, come on, like it's like a walk in the park compared to everything else that you have gone through. So like, and I want other women to realize that like we persevere over so many stinking things out there, and don't be afraid of finances. Persevere there. I'm sorry, I digressed. I just had to.
You're so right. I'm so much better with it now. I wanted to tell that story about me in the past of, not seeing numbers as my, not being comfortable enough to work with them. But yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. We have to learn through this, and, our skills will develop. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, but let me digress. You were just asking about the teams,
yeah.
But
so tell me about your project.
Touched about everything that you went through that I wanted to give you a kudos to. So what's interesting? So I had a wonderful experience. So we have something called the Girl Scouts here in the U.S. And it's basically, it started off with the Boy Scouts and then expanded to the Girl Scouts, and it's basically like character building, life skills building for girls. So each town has a troop that they work, that comes together on a weekly basis. So I was talking to a Girl Scout troop here in New Jersey, and there was 45 young ladies in this troop. And I started off by asking, what does everyone want to be when they grow up? And 45, I went around the room, and 45 girls, only 2 of them said anything in finance. One said accounting, and the other one said, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't quite finance, but I'm considering it finance, and I said, why ladies, why doesn't anyone want to go on finance? And they said, oh, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at that. That's just so hard. And so I went through the whole speech with them. And really what I wanted to do is start, letting them know that they don't have to go into finance to be investors, that no matter where they are in their lives, they are going to have money. And in order to grow their wealth, they are going to want to understand how investing works. And then I did a little bit of an explanation about how investing works and about stocks and whatnot. And I have this game that I play with teens called the I Spy investing game. And maybe we'll come back and talk. I'll come back on another show and talk about this game on how to sort of understand how stocks work. And by the end of the talk, I said to them, okay, you might not go into finance, but who here is going to wear the investor hat when they grow up? And guess what? Every single girl, 45 girls, raised their hand and said, yes, I'm going to wear the investor hat. And that's really the script, the internal script, the I can do it script. We are rewriting it. And that's what my joy is with the teens, is rewriting that script in them so they identify as investor, whether it is in finance or in their everyday lives.
Oh, that is magical, because again, you're getting to know me and I'm getting to know you. And maybe if you haven't seen this on social media or whatever, a really quick summary is that I started Manuka Media, my business, in 2020, just after being made redundant from a bank. So ironically, I was working in a bank and I was a business development manager, and I got made redundant. So I woke up 30 years old during a pandemic with no money, no savings because it had just been put in my house, no backup plan, because up until that point, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur and I always wanted my own business. But it just so happened that job was so good and I loved it so much that I put all my entrepreneurial dreams to one side for 2 years. And what a coincidence, 2 years later, after thinking I was in a safe, secure job, in inverted commas, I lost it. So I then started my own business, and I remember thinking, okay, I've got almost 10 years. At the time, I had nearly 10 years experience within the property and the finance sector. What do I do with it? And I decided to start a content, digital marketing, social media business. And I could have gone and done social media management for a hairdresser, a Botox specialist, any niche, right? Any industry. But I decided to specialize in property and finance. And people were like, why? Like, you could do like social media for absolutely anyone and everything. And I was like, because fashion is sexy, beauty is sexy, the beauty industry, fitness is sexy, but can you get any sexier than money? Like, is there anything more sexy than financial literacy, financial clarity, financial well-being? Because that will enable you to do all the things that you want to do. And if I've got access to financial people, I'm going to help them be financial educators. So my long-winded story is to go back and say, even though you're not my client, you're actually living out the dream and the whole mission that I wanted for Manuka Media. And that was to see more financial advisors or coaches or mortgage advisors educate our society and give us the tools that we need. And I really want to thank you for doing that, because that's, so some love back right at you, Jessica. I think that is, you hold the power and you can change our society. You can change that little girl's mindset, and she can become something, she could be our next politician. She could be like in treasury and really make some colossal decisions for our countries. So that's why we need to educate them. So yes, thank you for sharing that story and what you do. And those girls that are like, the fact that they just put their hand up after your session, that is so empowering.
I still get goosebumps.
Oh,
I still get goosebumps thinking about that. Like, it was just such a magical moment. It really was.
Yes. Yeah. And okay, so women listening, they might have money. Some might want to get it. So what would your stepping stones be in when you're guiding someone through their financial journey of building wealth? Where would you begin?
Sure. So first of all, a financial journey is completely personal. So there isn't one size fits all. It really is on a case by case basis, but there are certain fundamentals that are probably the same globally. And I talk about these in my course, Before Investing. So the Before Investing course was created because I had a lot of women coming to me to my Investing for Beginners course with credit card debt. And what they were thinking was that they were going to invest their way out of credit card debt. And that really doesn't work. It's just hard work. You just need to get a plan and pay off those credit cards. I mean, and I talk more about why, and like comparing interest rates and returns from the markets versus, the interest on credit cards. So the Before Investing talks about something I call the financial ducks, and it's the things you want to get in a row. It's the foundation, the personal finance foundation you want to get in a row before you start investing. And it's interesting because I would consider even investing in housing, investing initially. It would the premise of my courses was around the stock market, but it also applies to housing. And the reason why this sort of came up in my mind was when you said, I bought my house, I lost my job, and I had no money. And the financial ducks, one of those is emergency fund. That one of those very important aspects are emergency fund for things that happen, because stuff happens. It does. It happens to all of us. But if we are prepared, then we won't regress in our financial journey. So financial ducks is basically paying off bad debt, creating an emergency fund, saving and allocating money towards your dreams, whether it is a house, whether it is your retirement, your pension, as you were saying, Rosalia, whether it is investing in the stock market, whether it is, finding a deposit, creating a deposit for a house, whatever that dream is. And again, these dreams are personal. They're personal, and the journeys are personal too, but there are the foundations that help you get to those dreams.
You're right. I mean, the question is impossible to answer if you don't know the person you're talking to. You need to know, do they have money? Do they not have money? Do they have debt? Do they have assets? Do they have liquid assets? Everyone's different, right? So I completely understand that. Okay, so let's see if this question, you can answer, not answer, it's up to you. But I wonder if what is the biggest money regret you have? Like, have you got this like super embarrassing money story or money failure? You're like, oh my God, this was a colossal mistake that I made with money. Oh God, Jessica, share it.
But I will say, Rosalia, every single one of my epic mistakes turned out to be lessons that are so valuable to me now. So I look back at every single like blooper or story or investing story, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for every single blooper because it's made me who I am now. And I have so much wisdom and knowledge now. And I'm grateful for it. So I think that if we can look at hindsight and at all these terrible moments as a blessing, and I know it's hard, especially when you're going through a hard moment, it's hard to look at it that way. But if we can turn the mindset into, oh my goodness, I went through that, but I persevered, and you know what? I grew from it. So I'm sorry, I digress again.
No, you're so right. I'm glad you framed it because look, I would say the same, that my mistakes have turned into lessons, and I am where I am today because of them. But yeah, I want to know the juicy ones.
Okay. So I grew up the oldest of 8 children, and growing up, we were very poor. If I told you the stories, it's amazing how strong my mom was. And I have so much gratitude for her, and I learned so many lessons from her, even though they weren't money specific, because we didn't have money conversations because there wasn't any money in the household. So basically everything I've learned in my journey has been self-taught up until when I made it on Wall Street. And so in my first job out of college, I was surrounded by men in their little cubicles, and they were all talking about the stock market and how they got these tips from their brokers and how much money they were making and how I should really get involved in the stock market. And at the time, I didn't realize that they were trading small caps and penny stocks. And at that time, there wasn't a retail brokerage platform that you could invest through. You actually had to call up a broker and place the order, and then they charged you commissions on both sides of the trade. So when you placed the trade to buy, they charged you. When you placed the trade to sell, they charged you a commission, and then they charged you an account maintenance fee. And so at this time, I had like $500 in my savings account, and that was big money for me back then. And I was like, you know what? I want to trade stocks. I want to do this, gosh darn it. And so I called up the broker, and I'm like, I want to open up an account. And so it took like a week to open up the account. And then I'm like, I want to trade that stock that they were trading a week before. But what I didn't realize, because I didn't understand the stock market, was that stocks move and they go up, especially penny stocks. They move really quickly, and you have to get into that trade. And that's why the broker was calling, was so that my colleagues could get into the trade. So I'm getting into this trade 2 weeks later. Okay. It's already rallied, and I get it at the top. I buy it at the top, and this penny stock right afterwards, sold off completely to zero, to absolutely zero. Not only did I lose all of my $500, I owed commissions on the trades and account maintenance fees. So I owed the brokerage money on top of that. And I said, I'm never trading again. I'm never doing this again. So that was my first inlay with penny stocks and trading off of tips. And that really, I'm not a day trader. That's not my strategy. And I learned, that there's different types of stocks now. There's small caps, there's medium caps, there's large caps, and there's different levels of risk associated with them. So if you I feel like this now is sort of like those TikTok videos of this is going to be the next best thing, get into it. This kind of translates to that FOMO. This was the FOMO. This was my office place FOMO. Like, I need to get in on this stock trade. So that was a lesson that I learned very early on, to really understand what I'm investing in. I research everything. I understand the moves. I understand the charts. And again, when we're thinking about investing, this kind of comes into, do we want to do self-directed investing, or do we want someone to do it for you? And there's even risks associated with that as well.
Wow. Like, honestly, listening to you, I know it sounds really cliche. I'm sure in the States, they say things about like people in the UK, like they're like, oh, do you see the Queen? I don't know. But like, when I hear you talking about Wall Street, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's been on Wall Street. Like, that's so crazy. Like, I don't know why I still think that. I went to Wall Street last year in April. Visited New York for the first time. And yeah, like just seeing Wall Street and like from the movies and stuff, and then you're talking about penny stocks, so I'm like Wolf of Wall Street, I'm thinking of all this.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, how amazing that we've got a money honey on the show who you said earlier when I made it on Wall Street, and I think you just kind of like threw away that comment, because the way Wall Street is portrayed on social media and in movies is that the women are more like the decoration, and the women are more like the eye candy. I don't think I've seen a movie, if anyone can recommend one, I don't think I've seen a movie or a social media post where the woman is the broker or like the champion in Wall Street. And I think I found her.
Well, I wasn't a broker. No,
but when you think of like Wall Street, like, yeah,
absolutely. And let me tell you, and you're absolutely right, Rosalia. And I never thought of it this way, but there are some, and I don't know if I can say this on your podcast, but there's some bad, can I say that? The A word?
Yeah.
Okay. There's some badass women out there that are gorgeous and smart and tenacious and, have the respect of the trading desk. I mean, I've been on trading desks, not only in the US, but my clients used to be trading desks in the UK as well. So there are badass females on all trading desks out there.
Exactly.
And it's like, you're right. They are depicted as like the sexy, like in their suits and like, haha. But no, there are some serious badasses out there.
Yeah, let's make a movie. Let's make a movie with those women depicted as like the badasses. And I just wanted to say, your language is very welcome here. We have a plaque here called Business Bitch Energy. So that is what we're bringing to the show. This is my plaque that sits on my desk, and it says Business Bitch Energy. And sometimes it accidentally like gets into photos or like videos that I'm sending clients when I'm like explaining something. They're like, I like your plaque, Roz. I see your motivation and where that comes from. I was like, yep, that is there as a reminder. So yeah, I just really appreciate the fact that, I feel just so honored that with your experience and knowledge and I can't imagine what you must have gone through if you're working in Wall Street and you've worked in that kind of sector. I just can't imagine. I can only imagine it as in like, I'm just leaving it all up to the imagination, what could have gone on in such an environment. And then you sit here, with the biggest grin on your face and with like I can tell your confidence, you're strong, your face is glowing. Like, I just want people to see this episode as such an inspiration that you can be at home in your bedroom, investing from these days, guys, not what Jessica had to do. You just open an app and you just start. So let's talk about that really briefly before we sign off. Like, it's an industry where there's a lot of scam, there's a lot of misinformation. You could just open an app and pour your money into something that you don't even know. And that's what I think holds a lot of people back, because women, like, we like to think about, is this right? Is this, I don't know enough. I'm not good enough. I have to do it until I know everything. So how do we pick up momentum with investing and money when at the same time we don't want to be ripped off and scammed?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are some amazing apps out there, and I call it the democratization of finance, because once upon a time, you could only invest through and have access to a financial advisor with 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. I know some financial advisors that won't take clients on with less than $1 million, no joke. And there are apps out there, and they're robo-advisors. In the States, we have two particular apps that come to mind. One is Wealthfront and the other one is Betterment. And these are robo-advisors where when you can take a sum of money, whether it is, I think it's the minimum is maybe $100 to invest with these apps. And what they do is they actually have an online process that's very similar to going to a financial advisor for the first time. And then they take your money, and based on your risk assessment, how you feel about the markets. And I talk about what risk assessments are in my investing for beginners course, and how financial advisors use these risk assessments to invest your monies for you. But the robo-advisors will allow you to have a firm manage your money, invest your money for you based on your risk assessment, your risk tolerance in the markets. So you don't have to have a lot of wisdom. You don't have to understand what stocks are. You don't have to understand what ETFs are. And you can just, on a regular basis, do a direct deposit to the account and then watch it grow over time. And that's really the most successful thing you can do. The most successful thing you can do is just consistently invest in markets, even if it's your, and again, it might be a little bit different the way it's set up in the UK versus the US. We have workplace retirement accounts called 401ks. And even if you contribute more money to that workplace retirement plan, you're investing in the markets.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that I did not put that connection to when I first started in the workplace. I had a mentor that said, Jessica, invest in this. But I still didn't make the connection that when I was contributing to that workplace retirement plan, I was investing in the markets.
Yeah.
And when I made that connection, it wasn't until like 10 years later, honestly, when I understood what stocks were, what ETFs are. And I even have a course, it's called Stocks and ETFs Simplified, so that you can understand what these robo-advisors and financial advisors are actually investing your monies into as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I'm also like affiliated with Female Invest. I don't know if you've heard of that company before, but you'd love it. I mean, you're doing your own thing, but obviously, it's always nice to see like what others are doing. But yeah, Female Invest is a global financial education platform that empowers women to invest in stocks, shares, and really like get into the market that way. So I'd love to know your program. We can put it in whatever you want to do. We can put it in the show notes if you think so, because I'd love to, of course, I'd love to give people access to this information. It is so crucial, because that's exactly what I do, Jessica. Now that I work for myself, I have a private pension and I invest in that. And then the other day, like even little things like, I ordered something on ASOS, okay, and it arrived. I tried it on and it was rubbish. I was like, no, it doesn't fit, doesn't look nice. I'm going to refund it. And then when the money came back into my account, I immediately deposited it in my app called Coinbase, which is, like I bought some Solana and
Crypto. Oh my.
Yeah.
You going the crypto, girl.
Yeah, I know, right? Check me out. But I was like, look, I've got the traditional stuff, I've got my money in bricks and mortar. I've got a pension, and yeah, I'm just gonna, if it's £100 or £200, I'm just gonna throw it in there because I was gonna throw it away anyway into buying some outfits. Those outfits didn't suit me, so I will just put it in, so it could be little things like that. So if you're listening and you're like, yeah, but I don't have £500 or I don't have 1,000 or 5,000. I literally just started with £100. I just put £100 in this app and it did go down the next day, but it did go back up after. So I was like, what? As soon as I
can I just interject really quickly? Because, so crypto is very interesting, very cool, very sexy, like you were saying, but it can be very risky. So when you're thinking about the different levels, remember how I was talking about my small caps? Well, crypto can be on the same level as small caps. It can have very big moves and you have to have the right risk tolerance. And I can tell that you have the right risk tolerance for it. But when it comes to like super risky assets, you have to consider it like gambling, really. Like if
I did consider it like gambling.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But that's why I say like £100 that I was willing to lose to ASOS. Perfect. Why would I not be? So yeah, I'm not giving advice here, everyone, to say get into crypto. But I didn't sell my house and put it into crypto. I would never. I'm not that risky.
Absolutely.
But my financial advisor's also done like a risk questionnaire. Like for example, even investing in things like green energy or investing in ethical companies. I'm more inclined to not take up a really lucrative deal if it didn't align with my ethics. So I'd rather pass up on that. That's me personally, but
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
I just put that in my risk assessment. So I guess he just needs to know, like, okay, if I call Roz with a really lucrative deal, but actually these guys are invested in whatever I do not agree with, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. I cannot do that. So that's also something that you have to assess, right? When you're on this financial journey, it's like, what am I willing to make money in? And so anyway, I feel like I could literally chat for another whole evening with cocktails if we ever have time.
Yes. Oh, yes, please. Yes.
I would love it. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of our recording.
Oh my goodness, that was so fast. This was great. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
But thank you. You were amazing. And if people want to consume, which I know they will, if they want to absorb more of your energy and your great value and offering, it's in the show notes. Obviously, you can connect on social media, check out the courses, and just do your research, do your due diligence, and really pick what is in alignment with you. So once again, like I said at the beginning, guys, it is about our mission, which is positive pollination. That whole ethos is about positive pollination, which is one bee at a time from flower to flower. I know it sounds cheesy, but the pollination doesn't happen unless you spread it. So when a bee picks up pollen, it flies away and then it drops pollen, and that's how you then flourish. So positive pollination in this context means maybe sharing it with someone that you think might need to hear from this, maybe commenting and saying, thank you, Jessica, maybe saving it into your favorites and listening to it and gifting yourself that 40 minutes, guys. It's 40 minutes, your commute to work, to just get in your headspace into the conversation around money. So whatever it is, I wish you all a beautiful day, whatever it is you're doing. Thank you again, Jessica, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you on the next show.